If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
As Daybreak continues on a Wednesday morning, the 5th day of May, we're joined by Cindy Pennington, Talladega County Revenue Commissioner. Cindy, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad you were able to make it today with all the rain we had last night and yesterday.
I know. We had a little rough weather at our house, but we made it through.
Yeah. All right. Cindy Pennington, the Talladega County Revenue Commissioner, going to be with us for the next couple of minutes. Some of the items that we want to talk about, I know one of those is you got an auction coming up.
We do. This coming Tuesday, May the 11th, we have a lien sale. It used to be called a tax sale. A little different these days. Several years ago, there was a law passed in the state allowing counties, if they chose to do so, to have a lien sale rather than a tax sale. It's a little easier on the office. In my opinion, it's quite a bit more fair to the taxpayer, and it's just a lot easier to put on. The difference is, normally at a tax sale, you sell the property for what's due, and the taxes that are due, penalties, interest. You sell to the highest bidder. Well, now with this, it's a little different. You actually sell to the lowest bidder. The bidders bid down the interest. It works kind of like an eBay auction. We do it online. We have a company that handles it for us. And it's just much more fair to the taxpayer.
Is this the first year we've done it like this?
Second year.
Okay.
Second year. After 3 years, actually the property owner has 3 years to redeem the property. And once that 3 years is up, if that same bidder has paid it all 3 years, then he or she can petition the circuit court for a deed to the property. But it keeps that interest that they bid no higher than 12%. And it's just a lot more fair to the taxpayer. For example, several years ago, when we were still doing tax sales, the legislature, and I don't mean to throw the legislature under the bus here, but a law was passed that allowed someone that purchased property at a tax sale to, when the property owner came to them and was ready to redeem it, they could pretty much name their price. They could say, well, I've done this, this, and this to the place. I've cut the grass several times. I've had some repair work done to the building on the place. And they could run that price up several $1,000s. They were not required by law to have any proof of that.
Wow.
And it just put that taxpayer at a real disadvantage. And I'm elected to serve the taxpayer, and all tax officials are in this state. And so several years ago, a couple of the tax officials went out to Colorado and watched how they handled these kinds of situations, and they did this thing called the lien sale. A lot of other states, I'm told, out west and up north do it this way. And so they got together with our legislature and passed this law that allows the tax official freedom of choice to decide which one they want to do. The Department of Revenue, the State Department of Revenue, is strongly encouraging the lien sale. It's just it's easier. We don't have to charge quite as many fees to the taxpayer handling it this way, and it's great all around, I think.
Is there a number of properties that's going to be up for bid?
There are. Right now, we're sitting at around 800 to 900.
Wow.
And we hope to have that down. We'll have a lot paid this week, to Friday especially. That's the last day to pay. We can't keep it out of the sale if it's not paid by Friday at 5 p.m. And if you are interested in bidding on any property, you can go to www.govease.com, GOVEASE.com.
Does it show the listings of the property?
It shows the listings, and it shows how to register online to be a bidder. And like I said, it kind of works like an eBay auction.
Yeah.
Also, if you just want to look and see if your property is on there by chance, or if you know anybody whose property is on there and maybe you could get in contact with them, look at the county website, www.talladega.gov. Talladega County, spell out county, al.com, and look at pay your property tax and then delinquent parcels.
Well, we don't certainly want any surprises, do we?
No, we do not. We do not.
Oh, that's my property.
Right. And I will say though, it gets a little more complicated if you don't pay it on time, and we have to sell the lien on it. However, it is redeemable for 3 years. It is, quote, fixable for 3 years.
Cindy Pennington, Talladega County Revenue Commissioner, joins us this morning, and I couldn't help but notice the article in the Daily Home newspaper a couple of weeks ago, and it didn't shed a positive light on past occupants of the Revenue Commissioner's seat in Talladega County. Your thoughts on this?
I will say that the County Commission, when I took office, hired an independent auditing firm out of Jefferson County who came in to take a look at the books and to take a look at bank statements and so forth. And they were not able, as I understand it, to say conclusively anything really. There were just a lot of missing checks, checks that had never cleared the bank. There were duplicate checks, many other things like that. And so, and again, this was an independent auditing firm. They were not able to really definitively say anything. They sure couldn't say things were good, but they couldn't say anything was missing either. It was just things were in such disarray.
Am I wrong in thinking that this is lost revenue for Talladega County?
It is. It is. And, our books are open to the public, and that report is public. If anybody wants to see it, I have a copy, be glad to show it to them. And our books, our bank statements, they're public. If you walk in and you say, Cindy, I want to see your bank statements for the license division or the property division for the entire month of 2020 or the entire year of 2020, well, then I'm obliged to hand that over and let you look at that.
And I'm sure that when you took office, you had to reverse some trends in a hurry.
I did. But I have a great accounting staff now. With the County Commission's help, we were able to recruit a very good accountant on staff and 2 ladies that help her, and they stay very busy all the time. And they've gotten remittances caught up to the agencies, to the schools, to the County Commission, to the state, and so forth. They stay on top of that, and they stay very busy. And I will say that the state examiners are still looking at things right now. They are looking to see what they might can clarify for us. So
I mean, that had to be a whole different can of worms. Just looking at some of the items that were in disarray, for sure. COVID-19 is hopefully mainly past us now. We still have some of that we're dealing with. But this past year has been a trying year for a lot of individuals, a lot of families, and a lot of businesses, including government businesses.
Oh, it has. It has been trying. It made a tough year a little harder, but I will say we all tried to work together there and do the best we could. We stayed closed right after the COVID big shutdown. We were closed for about 6 weeks to the public, but then we opened back up. We've been open since. And as of about 3 weeks ago, the County Commission took the mandate down in all the county buildings that the public has to wear a mask. Now, employees are still required to wear one. They do still check your temperature at the door when you come into the buildings, but other than that, we're running wide open now.
For people who may not know, where is the building physically located?
Our main office is at the courthouse on the square in Talladega. We have 2 courthouses. Yeah. We have the judicial building, but we're on the square. And
that's an old building right there.
It is a very old building. It's actually the oldest courthouse in this state in continuous use.
Wow.
So.
Well, what's hot and what's not with the Revenue Commissioner's office right now?
Well, I wanted to talk a moment about mandatory liability insurance. I think I've talked before here about it, but it's...
I'm going to take a break and I'll come back.
It causes a lot of conversations around the office, I'll say that. In 2013, Alabama passed, the legislature again, passed a law that all motorists or all vehicles in this state have to be insured. You have to have liability insurance.
And what does that cover, vehicles you're saying?
Anything that's on the road.
Okay.
Anything on the road.
Okay.
If it's one of those fancy golf carts that's actually roadworthy that you can get a title for and you can drive it on the road, then you're supposed to have liability insurance for it. So if you are caught without liability insurance, and by caught, I mean if you are stopped and the officer asks to see your insurance card and you don't have it and you don't have insurance, if you come to the office to purchase your license plate and you cannot provide proof of Alabama insurance, you have to be insured by an agency
so you're
here
going to
in the
ask
state.
that.
We do.
Okay.
We do. Then, and sometimes I will say we can pull it up in the computer. We can actually see. But if we can't see it, because we're linked to the insurance, but if we can't see it, then we say, I need to see your insurance card. And if you can't produce it, then we cannot issue that tag. Also, and so many folks don't know this, the state of Alabama, ALEA can send you a letter, and often do. They could send you a letter, Jimmy Dale, and say, Mr. Abrams, we need you to send us proof that you had insurance, liability insurance on such and such vehicle last July of 2020 or March of 2020, whenever. And you have to send them insurance.
They can do that randomly?
They can do that randomly,
Wow.
yes. And if you can't prove that, if you had a license plate for it at that time and you can't prove that you had that insurance, they are going to fine you. And those are pretty stiff penalties. It's $200 right off the bat. And then they can also charge you a $400 reinstatement fee. And if you don't pay it and you continue to drive, it just gets worse and worse, and you can lose your driving privileges. So
now, say that I'm stopped by law enforcement and I don't have proof that I have liability insurance. What do they do?
They will ticket you right then and there.
Wow.
And you will have a court date as well.
That's not cheap either.
No,
is
it is not cheap. It is not cheap. And you will, of course, have a court date, and it just gets worse from there. I cannot stress enough to folks, don't drop your insurance without already being insured. If you go from one insurance company to another, don't drop it. A few days later, go over here and get another insurance. Have that new insurance before you go and drop the old one. Also, and it used to be a thing where people would have insurance long enough to come in and get their tag, and then they drop it. But your insurance company, they are bound by law now to let the state know, hey, this person dropped this insurance. And then the state starts looking, well, did they get new insurance? I mean, with the computer age, there's just too many ways they can keep up with us now, so.
I bet the employees of the Revenue Commissioner's office have heard all kinds of stories.
We have. And often someone will say, well, this vehicle was sitting in my yard for 6 months. I was working on it as I could, or it was sitting at such and such's garage for a while. And sometimes the state will allow things like that, but you have to show proof from that repairman that you were working on it. Or if you were doing the work yourself, you've got to show receipts of where you were putting brakes on it or whatever, or a new motor. So it's a different world.
We're talking about automobiles, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles.
We are.
And a lot of motorcycles, especially on the road in the spring and summer.
They are. They are.
Now, when we think about liability insurance, we think as a consumer, say, well, I shouldn't have to have liability insurance, but it's really a protective insurance.
It is. It is. It's a protectant for us as drivers. I've a number of years back had personal knowledge of an automobile accident where the person at fault did not have insurance.
Yeah.
And so the person that they hit, was left having to pay the bill for an accident that wasn't their fault. And there was just too much of that going on in this state, unfortunately, and that is why the legislature passed this mandatory liability insurance law.
Cindy Pennington, Revenue Commissioner of Talladega County, our guest this morning, and a couple more items we want to talk about this morning. What's next, Cindy?
Addresses. That may seem like a simple thing, but so many times we get return mail for folks that have not let us know that they've moved. If you move, please call us and let us know. I know sometimes you'll go to the post office and put in a new address form, and that's great, but if you would, pick up the phone and give us a call and let us change that so that we can get your property tax bills to you, so that we can get your tag renewal notices to you. It's just, I can't stress that enough, because we just have a good bit of return mail, and that's one of my goals, is to try to reduce that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned property tax, and that's something that is always on our minds as homeowners, is property tax.
Yes, it is. And as soon as our sale is over next week, our clerks in the offices will start assessing and getting things ready for tax bills to go out in October. We actually do that in the summer. We get things ready. That means applying any exemptions that the property owner is entitled to. We get those put on, and then by August we actually have to send what's called an abstract to the state of Alabama Department of Revenue, and it will tell them basically how much money to expect from us this next year. Budgets are set by that. Cities, counties, the county, and actually the state starts to look at their budgets for that year based on what we send them in August.
Now, you're a goal-oriented businesswoman, and how has it been since you've been Revenue Commissioner, and what are some of the goals that you have in place for the next several years?
Well, I want to make us just as efficient as we can and still have that personal feeling, So those are my goals. We're looking at different ways to, that our software would be better, would be more friendly, more user friendly. As of now, you can go online and renew your car tags. If it's just renewals, you can do that online or by mail. If you can pay your property tax online. We're looking at possibly making it so that you could actually file for an exemption, such as a homestead exemption, online. In the past, that has not been done. That's something you had to do in person. But we would like to make it so that you could go online, because it's not always feasible for people to get out and come in.
What is homestead exemption? What is that?
A regular homestead exemption is something that any homeowner in this state can have. And it actually cuts the taxes in half and subtracts about $45 more than what it would be if you didn't have it. And then there are better homestead exemptions for people who are totally and permanently disabled. If the home is in their name, they have to show proof of that, of being disabled. They can be totally exempt on their taxes. And then also, when you turn 65, there is a little reward for that from the state. You do get at least a certain portion off, the state portion off their taxes on your home, just because you're 65.
How do you do that?
You have to just come in and sign for it, show your ID so that we know you're 65. And
Can you do that at the satellite offices
you
as well?
surely can. Any of the satellite offices here in Sylacauga, in Childersburg, and in Montford, Oxford.
Okay.
And you may, depending on taxable income, qualify to be totally exempt once you turn 65. But that is based on taxable income. So we have to look at your previous year's income tax return. But you do have to, like I said, you have to be 65. And there is a reward for turning older, getting older. That's one of those things, kind of like the little discount you get at some of the stores.
Us that are older, we don't like to think about that.
I know, I'm fast getting there.
Oh, Cindy Pennington, Talladega County Revenue Commissioner, I guess. I've heard this said before we go this morning. I've tried to call the Revenue Commissioner's office and I can't get through to them. How do they get in touch with you guys?
All right, our main office for property is 256-761-2123. For license, 256-362-1460. And I put my cell number out everywhere. I do not mind you calling my cell. It is 256-493-2469.
All right, Cindy, thanks for sharing this morning. Always a pleasure to have you, and also very informative when Cindy's here, and we cut right to the chase because we know that you want to know the answer to some of these questions that you pose. And Cindy, we appreciate you coming this morning.
Thank you very much.
Cindy Pennington, Talladega County Revenue Commissioner, our guest this morning. More Daybreak just ahead.